Hello and welcome. I am Scrapperlog, and this is City of Heroes. We are with Liberty Lass, who's level 30. She got 27,000 XP to go to get to level 31. We're on the Ubbelman story arc, and as of this play session, we are in issue 27, page 7, or something like that. This is the latest update. They added a whole bunch of new powers, new stuff that you can put in your super bases, and all kinds of things. I don't think any of it's going to affect us, so we're not going to go over the list. But if you want to find out what was added, go to the Homecoming website, and you can take a look at the updates. Meanwhile, we are dealing with corporate culture. Did I say we were doing Obelman? No, we did that one already. We're doing corporate culture with the Cray. And we're going to defeat the security chief and his men in King's Row. So these guys in Cray are screwing around with Ken Kellerman and his wife, and they've been like trying to erase their identity and stuff like that. So really what we need to do is put a stop to all of that. And so we're going after the security chief and his men. Now, this is Cray, so we know what'll happen in true, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos fashion. Countess Cray and her flunkies who run the company will argue once this is all said and done that it was a rogue element in her company and not really ordered by the people at the top, right? It's never the fault of the CEO. They had no idea what the people in their company were doing. They never do. I'm going to pause it here for just a sec. Alright, so we're back. I just wanted to check the comments because I knew there was something I wanted to talk about, but I thought about that last night, so now I've got it. So I've been talking about how the Incarnate Trials, I was told by my group leader when I was on the Daybreak Initiative, not me, our supergroup was told, you got to have voice chat. We can't do it without voice chat because it's just, we're all gonna die, and you've got to be fully geared. Apparently that is, at least at this point in time, currently on the Homecoming servers, not true. One person came in and said it's hard, I guess, but you can actually even do the Incarnate Trials with SOs, single origin enhancers. Somebody said they can be set to ridiculous difficulties, but you can do them without voice. And that implies to me that there might be a way to set the trials to various difficulty settings. I don't know if that means just like going up to +1 or +2 or ×2 ×3, whatever, +4 ×8, or if the Incarnate Trials are able to be set in difficulty levels the way you guys probably saw me setting the very first flashback we did, where I said we're not gonna. You can set it to like be on a timer, and you fail if you don't do it within 30 minutes or whatever. You can set it to be like a certain number of defeats, and you lose, and stuff like that. Defeats being getting face planted. And so maybe you can do that with the Incarnate Trials, and maybe that's what my group was doing, and that's why she said that it had to be so perfect, that you had to be so perfect. I'm not really sure, but apparently people are saying that they do not need to do the sorts of things that Nina, the supergroup leader, was saying we had to do for the Incarnate Trials, and they're still successful. So I urge you to go and read the comments. This is the one where I was talking about farming a few videos back, and take a look at the comments, because the people making the comments know more than I do about this stuff, since they've done Incarnate Trials and I haven't. As I speculated in the comments, so if you want to think about like why would they have said you need to do this when other people are saying you don't, I can think of a couple of possibilities. One is that maybe it was harder in the past, and Homecoming has made it easier, or introduced difficulty settings where none existed before. I'm not really sure. If anybody knows who's done these things, please feel free to provide more information, and I'll give an update here in the videos in case people didn't read the comments. So it's possible that it has become easier, or at least possible to do it more easily in terms of maybe a difficulty setting, or maybe they rescaled them somehow. I don't know. I mean, I know, for example, in original City of Heroes, it really was not possible. It's just Lieutenant. I was wondering if it was a boss. It really is not possible for in original City of Heroes, it was virtually impossible to solo a task force. And in fact, I think the game wouldn't let you even start a task force unless you had some minimum number of players. Task forces and trials were meant to be 8 players. And I can't remember if you had to have 8 or if you had to have at least 6. But I think originally it was scaled for 8 no matter how many people were in it. So you could do, you know, you could maybe do it with a group of 7 or a group of 6 or something, but it would have been very hard to solo it. And I'm not sure if they're still scaled to 8 and people just do them, because people can do ×8s now. But I think the interface wouldn't even let you do it if you didn't have enough people. And now I'm pretty certain it does, because I'm pretty sure people solo trials and task forces now. So things have changed, and it may be that the Incarnate trials were similar in the sense that perhaps they had some sort of a default setting that made them extremely hard to survive, even when you had a full group of whatever it is, 24. So I think it's 3 groups of 8. But, whoops, wait a minute, we gotta call our contact. But maybe they made it a little easier to do now. I don't really know. So one possibility, we gotta rescue Ken and Kimberly. One possibility for why they would have said on my supergroup, you have to have these, like, everything's got to be purple, all the sets have to be purple, and you've got to have your first row of what are these incarnate abilities, right? You've got to at least have your alpha slot in for the first one, and then for the second one, you've got to have these 2 in at least at level 1, and so on and so forth. There are like ranks to them. You'll see when we get there. Maybe you needed them back then and you don't anymore. I don't really know, because I haven't played them. So one possibility is she was talking about a difficulty level that either doesn't exist anymore, or you can change it to something that's a little less demanding. So that's one possibility. Another possibility is that maybe they were doing overkill, right? Maybe they wanted to, do it in record time or something. And since I didn't do the Incarnate trials, maybe I just sort of missed the fact that they were doing that and didn't realize it. I'm just not really sure. So are we gonna hit this guy? No, he's doing a force field. So let's. There we go. We stunned him. Good. Oh boy. They are kicking my butt. Oh, he's a boss. Ah, I thought it was a lieutenant. Let's see if we can stun him again. So it may be that they were just going for overkill, right? We just want to be as super powerful, right? And that's a possibility. I don't know. So that's the second one. That maybe they were just, just being unreasonable in their demands and just saying, we're just going to be Uber, and we're only going to accept you if you're also Uber. I think that's probably not super likely, because they're a pretty friendly group, and I don't think if they felt like it was possible to do it with less, that they would have tried to make people do more. And maybe it's just sort of the joy of min-maxing, right? That's a third possibility. It's fun for a lot of people to do, just almost like a mini game. And maybe that's what they were doing. I don't know. Again, not sure. the fourth possibility, and I don't want to be mean, but maybe they were all really good at doing builds, but not so good at playing the game, like the actual gameplay. And so, you know, I don't know. I suspect the most likely thing is that the difficulty has changed, or they've edited. Well, I don't need to rest. I thought I needed to rest there from the endurance, but it's okay. Maybe the difficulty has changed, and so you used to have to do this and not. But I'm going to say, having played high-level stuff with them when I was post-level 50, I checked, looking at some of my older videos, ones that never got posted, and in fact, when I was veteran level 3 or 4, so I was already level 50, and I already had sets in most of my powers, although they certainly weren't purple sets. And I had a couple of incarnate abilities already. I did a level 50 story arc, part of a level 50 story arc with them, the Dark Astoria arc. I've told this story before. I refused to do the initial mission because the initial mission requires you to break a villain, Malt, a villain, out of prison and fight Blue Steel. And I said, you know, Silver Phoenix, my character isn't going to do that. Liberty Lass wouldn't do it either. So I sat out the first mission, and then, you know, when they were done with it, it took them a half hour or something. When they were done with it, they then contacted me and said, you can come back, right? And then I joined the group and I played with them, and they we had a lot of fun. And it's hard to tell from what you've seen here, but if you've never been on a multi-person, like 7, 8, 6-person team in City of Heroes, especially when you've got a couple of masterminds on the team, it can be utter chaos, and things happen very quickly. And I was playing a scrapper, so it wasn't really my job to monitor aggro, except for my own aggro. It was my job to get in there and just do damage, and that's what I was focusing on doing, as much damage as I could. And taking care of myself so that the healers, the buffers, etc. could focus more on their teammates and not me. I can't remember if we had a tanker. I know we had a mastermind, and we had a controller, because that was the leader and the vice leader of the team. So and they were there. And so I know we had them, and of course my scrapper. I don't remember the other archetypes who were there. I think there was another scrapper, because the one very active player always plays scrappers. Or maybe it was a stalker. It was a stalker. He always plays either a scrapper or a stalker, because those are his two favorite archetypes. And so what I remember of that mission very clearly, and I actually, one of the reasons I remember it so clearly is that I actually, in the recording that I never posted because it was after the Homecoming, the band that they put a couple years ago on posting videos, so I didn't post it. I was describing what happened, and I had just gone on the mission, so I know it's accurate. They all face planted, and several of them, including the leader and the vice leader, face planted 3 or 4 times, and I didn't face plant a single time. So now that can happen no matter how good you are at City of Heroes. You've seen me face plant. It happens. Sometimes you just accidentally aggro something. Your stupid pet follows somebody into another spawn and brings a whole spawn back, and they all aggro to you, and nobody sees it in time, and the tanker doesn't taunt them in time, and you go down. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that these people were bad players. But the fact that they were way better spec than I was, and they seem to be having a lot more time staying up and keeping their health above the yellow than I was, suggests at least the possibility that maybe they didn't play as well as they did their builds. Now, I don't know, because again, this is like the only time I ever played with them, and it was a really tough thing. It was set on +3, I think, or maybe +4, I don't remember, it might have been +4. So we're fighting almost like entirely purples, um, with a group of 8, and there was, as I said, a lot of chaos. And it's not like I didn't have to use my inspirations and stuff. I certainly did. But, and we've leveled up. So what I'm going to do when we finish this story arc is we will turn off XP, and I'm going to go do another one of the level 25 to 29 flashback missions, because we're still missing some of those. And I won't film those because they're flashbacks. In quotes, because we didn't actually do them, but they're flashbacks and we're not going to be gaining XP, so I won't film them. And that'll give me a chance to get caught up on posting videos again. I doubt the Kellermans are in here, so let's leave that room. So yeah, I don't know. It's again possible but unlikely that maybe some of these people on the supergroup weren't that great at the actual gameplay, and they needed that leg up that the super building did for them just to survive their missions. Now, I don't know. Right? I was called into a mission. There's another boss. Okay. I was called into a mission with one of them. Two of them. There were two of them. They were on, I think they were doing +4 times 8. And it was a stalker. And I can't remember who the other one was. Obviously, Silver Phoenix was a scrapper. I think it was a stalker and a blaster, if I'm not mistaken. And they asked, can anybody help us out? And I'm like, I can. And they sent me a group invite, and I went over to the mission, and they weren't in there. Like, where the heck are you guys? So they were coming back. It was in Fault Line. They were coming back from the hospital. By the way, notice all the guys are white cons now because we leveled up. And I'm like, okay, that's why they're not in the mission, right? They're coming back from the hospital. And again, in this mission, I think I face planted once, but those guys both did multiple hospital runs. And, it was hard for me to tell, again, when there's so many enemies with the special effects flying fast and thick. It's really hard to focus on what other players are doing and what's happening to their characters while you're watching your own. I didn't see them do anything where I was like, what the heck are they doing? You know, they didn't over aggro or anything like that. So I don't really know. But I do know that, again, I had this experience where the other players on this supergroup were face planting way more often than I was. Right? And the one guy who plays all stalkers and scrappers, this was not the person who kept face planting. I don't think that person would have face planted because he seemed like he was very, very good at the actual running the controls of the game. He's the one who said to the group, "Oh, Scrapper Lock, like Silver Phoenix," because that's how they knew me. You know, Phoenix plays this game on hardcore mode, and they're like, "What do you mean? +4 times 8?" And he was like, "No, SOs only." And so, and they're all like, "What? How do you like?" They're almost literally were like, "How do you play this game with SOs?" Right? So sometimes I wonder if these guys having so much influence early on, doing farming and everything, and putting all these sets and that sort of stuff on their character from a pretty young age, as it were, and playing it mostly like that, I wonder if it made them a little sloppy, right? Sort of that they can't do it without that. Whereas I've spent so much time playing my characters with just SOs because I just hate the auction house and dealing with sets and stuff, that I have a lot of experience playing a character who's either just SOs. We need to go this way. Who's either just SOs or who has just generic inventions and none of the set bonuses, and I'm perfectly capable of doing that. Now, most people are perfectly capable of doing that, right? It doesn't make me great at the game. You watch me. I'm not that good at this game. You can see it. I make a lot of mistakes. I'm playing a brute, so I don't pay for those mistakes that often. But I make a lot of mistakes, and I can see myself doing it. Like every episode, I'm like, why aren't you doing X? Right? I can see what I did wrong while I'm watching myself. So I'm certainly not that great at this game. Right? I'm not trying to say that, but I do have a lot of practice playing my character the kind of vanilla way, and by doing that with this other player called hardcore mode, right? By doing that, I don't lean on having sets and all these set bonuses, the procs and all this stuff that you get from sets. I don't have any of that on most of my characters. I don't rely on it, and it's harder, and so I have to be a little more attentive to what's going on and a little more careful about what I'm doing, as careless as I am. Maybe I'm more careful than those other players. I don't really know. Right? I just remember seeing a lot of face plants and waiting several times in that mission for those guys to come back from the hospital. Right? And when I saw that start happening, I started like trying to watch them and keep track of what was going on. And hold on, I got to pause. I've got a phone call coming. Oh Lord, I hate living in a swing state. I really do, because they just constantly pull you. Um, so yeah, I was trying to pay attention to what was going on and see if I could maybe protect them, warriors challenge, taunt enemies off of them, stuff like that. I tried to do a little of that, but they were also getting themselves into a lot of danger. And wow, what is my 2-hit, and why did the 2-hit disappear from here? What's going on? I lost several things from the combat meter. Did they reduce it with the update? Yeah, I mean they were taking risks I wouldn't have taken and doing things I wouldn't have done. With a scrapper, and scrappers and brutes I take the most risks with, and they were doing stuff that was beyond what I would have done. Oh boy. This is going to be very hard to hit this guy. So let's see if we can stun him. There's Ken. They were doing things beyond what I would have done. Right? They were aggroing way more than I would have aggroed. They were taking risks I wouldn't have taken. I tried to help them as best I could because I was trying, you always try to help your teammates so that they don't faceplant. But yeah, they were playing so far on the edge that even as a scrapper, I could not save them without faceplanting myself. Right? And so, and that's not necessarily really about skill, it's just about being willing to take extra chances. And I feel like we even discussed this in a roundabout way. I didn't particularly talk to those people. We were just sort of on the group channel talking about the sorts of things that they like to do and the sorts of ways that they like to play the game. And I think that a lot of people in the Daybreak Initiative just wanted to play. They wanted to just dive into spawns and blast and not worry about managing aggro. And if you faceplant, you faceplant. But let's just go have fun. Whereas, I'm always trying not to faceplant because faceplanting feels like losing to me, and I don't like to lose. So, yeah, I don't know. So I don't really know why. Where is this exit? I don't really know why they felt like they had to have all of the types of buffs and bonuses that they said you needed in order to do the Incarnate Trials. But as I say, I feel like there are a few possibilities. One being that maybe you used to and you don't anymore. Another being maybe they were just doing overkill. Another being maybe they just wanted to min-max and like min-maxing. And the final one being, again, I don't want to insult anybody, but it's possible, again, because I didn't see them that much. It's possible that maybe they just weren't that great at playing City of Heroes and they needed the extra margin of error provided by having all of those enhancement sets and all of those extra buffs that you get from the sets and the procs and everything else. I just don't know. So yeah, don't listen to me about the Incarnate Trials, really, guys. I've never played them. I don't know anything about what they're like. I never had any interest in them because they seemed like they were so much harder than regular Trials and Task Forces, and I just wasn't that interested in that kind of gameplay. Now, if it turns out that you don't have to do that and that the gameplay is more like a regular Task Force and you can set the difficulty, the way you want it, then I might potentially be interested, but, group of 24, I'd need to find a super group. And I've actually rejoined the Homecoming Discord. I did that because the servers were down yesterday, and I was trying to find out what was going on. And so I figured the easiest way to find out would be to join the Discord. And I noticed there were some recruitment threads for roleplay supergroups on Everlasting. So I'm going to... oh yeah, I don't think she's in here. I'm going to check that out. There's one group in particular that looks sort of interesting to me, so I'll be checking that out in the next few days, and if I join a supergroup, I will let you guys know. So let's see, there is another, is the waypoint still marked? Yes, so that, I purposely marked that elevator so I'd remember which elevator I had been up through and which one I hadn't. So this one is hopefully going to lead us to Kimberly Kellerman. And where did these guys come from? These are probably an ambush. And then when we leave, we have to get our level 31 slots. And then we will try crafting some inventions. Oh, and speaking of procs and sets, one of the things I saw when I was in the video where I was describing the where is it? Get rid of this waypoint. Go away. Come on. Where I was describing this incarnate requirements for the supergroup, in that same video, I was talking about procs. I can't really show you on this character, but when you have sets, maybe we can do it with recipes. When you have sets, that's not what I want. So none of these have procs. So when you have sets, sometimes here, maybe this one? No. So when you have procs, let's just take a look at this one. This one says endurance sleep, right? So this is a sleep power that will have a 22% chance, a 22% buff on reducing endurance, so reduce it by 22%, and 22% increase in the duration of a sleep. But let's imagine that this was a power that had what they call a proc. So in the text up there where it says enhances sleep duration, reduces endurance cost, right? Above where it says need and have, that little text. Sometimes they will have something called a proc. A proc means a process, I think, or a procedure, I guess. But it's basically when you attack a target with that power, in addition to whatever the power does, there will be some sort of a small percentage chance that the power will do something additional to the target. So, for example, that sleep might say, I don't know, 20% chance of damage over time burning, or something like that. Well, you wouldn't want to do that with a sleep, but you see what I mean. And that damage over time is going to happen regardless of whether you have a firepower, right? And regardless of anything else that you do. If that percentage is rolled up by the random number generator, then the that proc will trigger. And one of the things that I described in this video that I'd completely forgotten about is when these guys are doing their builds. And by the way, let's see if we can get our base attributes back up here. We want last hit chance to come back. Let's go. And we want our hold resistance to come back. Yeah, there's the ambush. And then we want to just take last hit chance and move it down to the bottom so it's easy to see. I'm not sure why those vanished. So what I was saying in the video that I couldn't post because we weren't supposed to post homecoming videos when I made that, when I was ready to, what I would have been ready to post that one, was that super group, when they build sets, they are building for resistances and stuff, yes, but they also build for the procs. That is to say, they don't care by what percent the raw base damage, accuracy, or recharge, or whatever is on their power. What they care is, what does it say the proc is going to do? And they're buying sets that do the procs. And their attitude was, what matters is not these bonuses in here, right? 30%, 18%, etc. What matters is the proc. And so they were buying sets for the proc. So it may be that one of the reasons that it was so expensive to build the way they were saying is that certain procs are very expensive and they're going to cost you more than recipes with other procs. I don't know, because again, I don't build for that. Right? I know what the procs are, I know what they are, but I completely ignore them. When I'm deciding what sets to get, it's all about these bonuses here, and I'm making sure that like on an offensive power, that the accuracy, endurance, recharge, and damage bonuses get me to at least fully SO'd in those things. In other words, if I'm going to put a set on this power, it better do plus almost 100% damage, plus 60% accuracy, and plus 30% recharge minimum with all of its bonuses for the 6. I don't care what the set bonuses and the procs are. I want the power to at least be as good as it would be if there were SOs on it. And that's the only consideration I have when I'm looking for sets. In addition to if the set sounds like it's cool, or it sounds like Red Fortune or Kismet or whatever, or it sounds like something that, if it maybe not perfectly fits the character concept, at least it's not the opposite or something of the character concept. Alright, so I would not give, Liberty Lass is never going to get the Touch of Death recipes. Right? She's never going to get that because Liberty Lass doesn't kill. I don't care how good the set would be for her or how great the proc is. Liberty Lass doesn't kill, so we're not going to get that set. And, not everybody does that, but that's just how I do it. Because I care more about character concept than about maxing out. Right? Okay, let's come over here and level up. So, probably want, oh boy, we want to slot this thing eventually too, right? Alright, so let's see, we have 4 slots on this, so let's finish Whirling Hands and get a slot on Rise to the Challenge. Now, we have a bunch of level 30 recipes, right? But we're level 31 now, and in one level we can get level 32 enhancements. So I think what I'm going to do is wait. Rather than slotting in level 30s here, I will wait and see if we can get some level 35s to drop. And if not, we will do level 35 SOs with them. Now, once we're at 35, the level 35s have enough bonus to them that I'll slot level 35s all the way to 50. No problem. But the 30s are just a little, I mean, we can do it. We'll see. We'll see when we get to 32 what we've got. The problem is when we first get to 32, we probably won't have a lot of them. Maybe we should go ahead and just do 30s on these guys. Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Why not? I mean, we don't need to be that effective, super effective. It's fine. So let's go in here and see if what we've got and how much we can slot in. So we'll head to our supergroup base. I wonder what the new items are that they put in. I didn't actually look, but we're not here to edit. We are here. This base really needs more work, but we're here to go to the workshop and to see what we can build. So let's see what we got here. We want to definitely get some damage. And we need how many? 2 more, right? And we have enough for 1, and then we need a masterwork weapon to create more. So let's create the 1. Do we have any masterwork weapons? So these are alphabetized, so we don't have one there, but we might have one. Whoops. We might have one up here. We do. Let's grab it. So we can make both damages. I don't know if we have a heal. So let's do damage. Create that one. And then do we have healing? We do. And we can actually create it. Let's go for it. So we can grab this and put that in there, and we can grab these two. And we're good. So now, Whirling Hands now does 72 damage instead of 36. So it's actually one of our best powers. Also, I did want to point out, I actually made this really long video that I never posted for a variety of reasons back when I was doing Silver Phoenix, and I was arguing with actually the really good other Stalker Scrapper guy from my supergroup, and he was talking about whether you should do 2 accuracy versus 2 accuracy 3 damage, or 1 accuracy 3 damage, or 2 accuracy 2 damage, and he argued for 2 and 2. And I actually did a whole spreadsheet. It actually turns out that it depends on what you're fighting, right? Single accuracy, triple damage, and then an endurance and a recharge is ideal for fighting enemies up to +1. And you will do more damage doing that because you will hit often enough with an attack chain that you will do more damage going through an entire attack chain than you would if you took out one of the damage enhancers and put in an accuracy. However, once you go to +2, it's actually slightly better to have 2 accuracy and 2 damage. You will do more total damage in the long run because you won't miss as much. And then if you're doing +3s and 4s, it's a little better. So it's actually, I don't want to go through the details of the numbers. You're going to have to trust me. So with a normal character, this doesn't include martial arts because martial arts has a slight increase. Their base to hit is actually 85% instead of 75%. But for a normal character with a 75% base to hit, you want to do 1 accuracy. You're better off doing 1 accuracy and 3 damage if you're fighting -1s, +0s, +1s. By about 15%. That is after going through an entire attack chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, and then they start recharging. If you're going through an entire attack chain with 1 accuracy, 3 damage, okay, you will do 15% more damage than with 2 accuracy, 2 damage. That's true for -1, +0, +1. For +2, 2 accuracy, 2 damage will do like 3% more damage. It's basically a wash. And then if you're fighting plus 3s and plus 4s, you're actually better off having a second accuracy and losing a damage. Now, what I would probably do instead is ditch a recharge or an endurance. So we're having some minor endurance problems with this character. What's using the most endurance would be the ones that I would throw an endurance reducer on, right? So for instance, this one uses 18 endurance. This one uses 9. This one uses 13. This one uses 8. This one uses 6. This one uses 6. So what I will probably do with this is swap this recharge out for an endurance when I have enough other powers, right? Like when Power Crash has a recharge on it or whatever, because this is a smaller endurance cost, right? And is also an AoE, so that I have the AoEs up when I want them. And then the other one that's very expensive is Total Focus. This one's definitely going to get Endurance Reducer on it, right? And Total Focus I can probably afford to have just a single accuracy, because whether you miss with it or not, it still charges up the focus power, and then you can still discharge it, right? So it's not so bad missing it, whereas you don't want to like miss with Barrage. So this one really needs a second accuracy on it, and I might want to only do 2 damage on this one, and then have the recharge and the endurance, right? It doesn't use a lot of endurance. I might be able to get away without doing endurance on Barrage and Energy Punch because they don't use a lot. But Total Focus, we definitely want to cut the endurance use of that down, and Whirling Hands as well, because they're so high in endurance cost. So what we'll probably do is rip one of these off, put an endurance reducer, and keep this with 2 accuracy, right? Now one of these, so Total Focus, we probably can get away with a single accuracy also because it starts with a 1.2 base. So it's already got like a DO accuracy on it, essentially. Anyway, so that's enough about enhancements. We're all set in terms of our powers that we just got slots on. It's nice to be able to fill the slots immediately with the inventions. And then, excuse me, when we get to level 32, we're going to see how much it's going to cost to auto-update. And I'll play around with that, and maybe we'll do an auto-update to level 35 with the SOs that we have in place. But what we're going to do is, little by little, as these expire, what I'm going to do is rip them out and replace them with available inventions, level 30, 35, and so on. Once we're done with having all the powers, every single one, except these up here, we don't use those, but having generic inventions, then it's time to start looking at sets. But those are, to me, optional, and we'll worry about those after we have generic inventions in everything. So I hope that was informative for you guys. Until next time, I am Scrapperlock, and this has been City of Heroes.